and then share my screen. And you'll see my poplet that I tried to create, but it's a share thing. That's what I was trying to get to there. But so look, I've got some resources in a Moodle, so in a Google Drive. Now I'm hoping I'll put in the text chat and hopefully that you can access those files. I've made them public, so they're available to you. And so these are the scripts for the activities that we're going to use. So you can either have a go as we're doing it, so you can see when you open them up, they're just like activities that we're going to build. So hopefully you can see that. The Moodle we've got for you, we've set up a, where'd that go? We've set up a sandpit. So getting to there is pretty straightforward. So from your dashboard, once you're logged into Moodle, we've got our course that's here, and you've got all the stuff that's in there, and you can see a little bit down, you've got the sandpit. And when you select that, you find a link to the sandpit itself, and that opens it up. So the difference between the sandpit and our course is that Moodle has a series of permissions for what people can do. And in the first one, our program, you're there as students, but in this one, you're here as an editing teacher. So that means that you can add information. And when you first get in here, you'll find that somewhere in here, there'll be, your name will be in here somewhere. It could be difficult to find. The best way is to do a Control F and then type in your name. So if I type in Tammy, it'll find you straight away. And Charmaine, there you are, and Shruti. And I think Shruti snuck a couple of things in there.
No, I haven't yet.
Now that was Helen. Helen's a bit of a guru. Keep an eye on. So once you find it, it's a bit tricky. To actually do anything, you have to turn the editing on in Moodle. So if we turn the editing on, then what we then get is, like, you can see a series of things where you can move things around. You can edit things, you can add activities or resources, which is what we're going to do. So the most fundamental thing that you can do in Moodle is to create some content for your learners, which is called a page. So if we add an activity or resource, we see all the particular things that are in Moodle. And the difference between an activity and a resource is that an activity is something students can do. They can enter some information, they can interact with a quiz, they can participate in a chat, they can contribute to a database, or they can do a survey, or they can upload an assignment as well. And you can grade it and provide feedback as well. They might be a bit formal for pre-accredited, but you never know where that's the case. Whereas resources are a bit more static things. They're really just information. So probably the main two we use are the page, which is just like a web page of content, or a book, which is a collection of pages. So you can imagine if you've got lots of page content, it can start to get a bit busy. As you can see, it has an hours. We probably should have used a book, and that would put all those things into the one. Some people use folders, for example, say if you've had a whole collection of resources that, were available to students and it wasn't mandatory, it was just interesting things, a folder can hold files. So you can put a whole lot of files in there. And as long as they're worded or titled easily, then it becomes easy to find. So we're going to do a page, and we're going to use some of the resources I've got in the Google Drive to create that. So let's hope I can get that under control. So create a page. The first thing we have to do is create a name, and the name displays on the front of the course as a link. And so I'm just going to call this WHS. It's nice and simple. Now you can put a description on a page and then reveal it on the front page, but this is entirely optional, just to give students a bit of a taste of what this is about. Something very, very simple. And if you display it, then it gives the students a bit of an idea of what it might be. If it's a quiz, it's a good idea to do that. but the actual content itself is going to happen in here. And so what we've got here is not much term annotations on here, so it's a bit easier for you to see what I'm talking about. So what we've got here is an editor. And so because we're working in web page language, it can be a bit tricky. There's a couple of tips and tricks that we can use to make sure things are highlighted. A good rule of thumb is to just stick with the page formatting that's available in Moodle. So if you look at here, you've really only got a couple of choices, which is kind of good because then you get some consistency. So you might only use a small or a medium heading or a large heading, but you keep that consistent for your hierarchy of information that you're going to use. I don't think you can put any colors, and you probably wouldn't want to, because color is a really the kind of thing that can interrupt with readability, depending on the vision of your students. And things like bolds and italics we kind of stay away from unless we really want to highlight something, because they may not mean so much to everything. Now, I want to show you one really fantastic thing I like about Moodle, and I hope you haven't had your lunch yet, because you might lose it. But this here is, you can record even an audio file or a video file. Now, video might be over the top, but let's just select this to show you. Now, I have to turn off my video so that you can see how this works. If I start recording, it's going to ask me if I can use the microphone and camera. I'm going to say okay, and you can see I'm coming through on the webcam. Unfortunately, the screen's over there. So, and it's a recording already, and it gives you 2 minutes. So this could be an opportunity to do a really quick thing around explaining to your students what you want them to do with that particular activity. Ask them straight. Now, once you've finished recording, you can play it to make sure it's okay. The audio is really good. And then I can attach that video to my page. So we've got some instructions there. Now, similarly, because this is the easiest way to get content, video, audio. So my dog's gone off here with the traders. It gives you an audio option as well, but it gives you a little bit longer. Oh no, it doesn't give you 2 minutes, and you can just record your voice. Hello everyone, how you going? Or today I want you to get the hang of using X, Y, Z. And you can listen to it, and if you like it, you can attach it as well into the document, and there it is. Now, if I save that, then we've created a bit of multimedia, which is, you can imagine how much quicker it is than typing, and probably sounds a bit more authentic and credible. And I think, talking about Padlet, this Padlet has got a really wonderful video and audio tool there. We can just create them on the fly. It's really fantastic. But then what happened to the video? It seems to have not worked. Anyway, I'll get rid of that. Because I totally strayed off track there, but it is a really interesting set of tools that they've given you. So, all right, well, I'm going to create a page. Now, I said I had some content here. So this is the content that I've got. And what I'm going to do is going to copy all that. But what I'm going to do when I bring it to Moodle is I'm going to paste it in as plain text. I don't know if any of you are Mac users, but this is a bit more tricky. I think there's a bit of a combination to get that in, but you've also got a tool here somewhere to paste in plain text, but I just can't quite remember where it is. So I've placed it in, and it does a bit of a mess of it. So I'm going to get rid of some of this stuff, but you can see it's pretty much coming with the default. I'll get rid of that for a minute. All right, so they've talked about putting the headings. I'll make that large.
Mick, why did you select plain text? What's the difference?
Because one of the problems with, do you remember when you've got a Microsoft Word document that someone else has made for you, and you have to use it, and you want to paste stuff into it, or reuse it, and it always gets the formats.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's going to bring those formats with it, and that causes lots of issues. So that's the only reason we did that. All right, so that's pretty much looking pretty good. So I'm going to save and display so that I can actually see what it looks like. Got a whole lot of other commands here, but we don't worry about those too much. And there it is. It's not very exciting at the moment. In fact, it's probably never going to be very exciting. But yeah, it's kind of there, and we've got a little bit of content for our students. So what we're going to do now is add a bit of interactivity here by, well, not really interactivity, but some more information by putting in a video, an image, and a link to an external document, like a website. So let's start off with the external site first. So I've got this hazard information that's going to be pretty exciting, but it just means we've got a bit more information for students to find. So I'm going to copy that link so that I've got it on my clipboard, and I'll go back to and up here when I'm looking at it, I've got a little cog here, and I can edit the settings here, and that'll allow me to go back to edit it again. And all I want to do really is I'll open these up so I can see them all. Here it is, the link here. So I'm going to select that. So that becomes the link to that resource. And then here you can see I've got a link tool. So if I select that, I can paste that into the window. It doesn't really matter about plain text. And I'll open a new window. Now, the reason I'm going to open it as a new window is so that student doesn't get lost, because if they click on the link, it will place the Moodle, they look at the resource, they don't look at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and they go, oh, how do I get back there, kind of thing. So that's why we do that. The markers done is not active. Okay, yeah. Let me come back to that, Drew, because that's a really good question and opens up a whole discussion about how we want to track learners. All right, so we've put that in. I want to put an image in. Now, one of the things that I found yesterday through some unfortunate trial and error is that you don't get much size on this Moodle for images. So that's where Unsplash is good, because the images are really small. So here's a photo I found that I kind of like, and it's from Unsplash. So it's Creative Commons. So it's public domain. I won't have any problems with it. So I'm going to download it. I don't need a very big one. I'll go for a small one, I think. And it's downloaded it. And it's gone to my downloads, and it's opened it up in my default. So there's the image there. And I want to put it into that page. So I'll put it in maybe here. And I might center it if I put the image in so it goes into the center. And you can see, hopefully that's big enough for you. Let me just blow this up a bit so it's a bit bigger, easier for you. Here you've got an image. We've got an image tool. If you select that, it'll ask you for the URL of the image or the address of the image. And it sometimes works and sometimes doesn't because of the page. So instead we've got to upload it because I've downloaded, then we know it's going to kind of be there. So I'm going to click this one, and it's going to take me to the area where files hang out in Moodle. And the only one we really need to worry about here is upload a file. I won't worry about the others too much at all at this stage. This is the most important one because we want to get it from my machine to the Moodle. We're going to choose the file that we want, and that'll bring up my PC that I then got to find where it went. And I think that's it here. And you can see it's really small, which is nice because you don't get very much space for each image here. And there it is. I can see it hanging in there. Select that, then I'll upload it. And there it is. And I can auto size it, which means that if I put a really large image in there and someone looks at a phone or a smaller screen, it'll adjust, which is kind of nice thing. Now, it also asks you for what's called an alt tag. So that's an alternate text. In the event that someone's using a screen reader, they get a description of what the image is. Now you can choose this to say, okay, this image is decorative, so I don't need to do that, but I think that's a little bit rude. So you can be literal with these. They look like men, don't they? Have some fun with these, because you've got to imagine that someone's reading that, what can't see that, reads it to them and tells them what the image is. So, and then we're going to save it, and it should plonk it in. And there it is. That's exciting, isn't it? So now I've got a little bit of stuff going in there. And then finally, you mentioned here is we've got a video. Now I've got a video somewhere. Oh, that wasn't it. Hang on, I'll just consult my script and grab it. Oh, there it is. I'll stick it in here. And I'll probably give you this so that you've got all the details of where to find things. Now, Moodle will allow you to just plonk the link in and link to itself and it will work, but you can't really control the size of it. So anywhere in YouTube, and this touching on embedding here, you see you've got a share button here on most videos there. And when you click on that, you see there's a whole range of different sharing options depending on where you want to put it. We can ignore all those because really the only two we're going to need is this one, if you just want to send it to somebody, or this one, which is an embed code that allows us to take this video from here and put it into wherever we want that supports an embed code. Now, all the really part of it is important is just this iframe. It's just a particular code, but because you can actually see the video link in there and you can copy it somewhere. There we go. And you can also start the video at a particular spot. But sometimes the video is really long, so you maybe start at the 5-minute mark so students cut to the chase. Many videos people over introduced, but not in this one. So I'm going to copy that whole code, go back to Moodle, and here I am here. Now I can't just paste that in like that. I can't do that because this will happen. It just doesn't work. So I'll go back and edit that and show you how we might address that. And I'll copy this. So this is actually a piece of web page code, and we have to go to the code view in Moodle to embed the video in there. So when we open this editing toggle up, you can see this one here with the funny looking arrow brackets and backspace. This is let you look at the actual code behind the web page. That's sort of HTML. And really all it is start doing something and then stop doing something. So in that example, start being a heading at size 3 and then stop being a heading. And then next bit is start being a paragraph, stop being a paragraph. And on it goes. So we have to plonk it. And even though I pasted that in, there's still some stuff that's come over. So not doing too well. I can paste it in here. So there's the link. And you know it's going to work because it's got green at the start and green at the end to kind of indicate that it's okay. And if I unselect that, then the video is plonked. Kind of, I'm not sure I can center it from there, but yeah, we can. So that's it. Now I'm going to save that. So now we've got text, we've got image, we've got a link, and we've got a video. We can embed a video. Now for most content, that's probably all you need to do. And in a subsequent workshop, we'll look more at H5P, which are interactive activities that you can embed into Moodle as well. So that's pretty much everything you need to know to create content in most places in Moodle, but the activities are a little bit different. In fact, it looks better than the demonstration. And here's our link. I'll open a new window. So it's all pretty good. Now, Trudy talked about this. Why isn't that? So Moodle has got a tracking capability that allows you to see what students have done and also to tick off, if you like, that a student's completed something. Now, it's not very useful with content because the student has to just open the page and then close it again without them reading it, and Moodle will tick it off because they can't really tell what you can't set it, just got to look at it for 2 minutes or anything like that. Whereas a quiz, it'll say, okay, you've finished this quiz if you get 80% on your, and you can have, say, 3 attempts. So it's kind of a way of just seeing what students have done. Probably less of a, useful tool to more to kind of see where students are getting stuck than to kind of police them. So this is, if we edit the settings again, and this always brings you back to where you start editing. We've got where we put our content in, and we've got all these other things down here, which you probably of all these, the only one we'd really worry about, and this is really only when you start to think about the structure of course, is restricting access and activity completion. Restricting access is basically a way of saying the student can't access that content until something happens, and we can add some various restrictions. So the most obvious one is the date. So, you might set everything up, but you don't want students to be able to see it until the morning of your class or whatever. So you can set a date, but you can create a grade. This is probably not so important in Learn Local, but in something like VET, it might be that you want to be able to see students progressively learning before they rush ahead. So that's one way of being able to do that. But the thing Shrudi's drawing attention to is activity completion. How can we tell the student has done something? And so it gives you the option of being able to, students to be able to indicate that they've done the activity, but all they can do is look at it. Like, it doesn't really show much. Or you can set some conditions, and all we can do here is that they viewed it. So as soon as they open it, I'll say, yeah, it just automatically says you've completed it. And that's it. And you can set a date for that if you want to. Now, Shruti, you can also restrict access to a topic. So if you put all your content inside, you can restrict access to a topic depending on certain things. So in VET situation, you might have 3 topics, they each build on each other. You want students to read the first bit, do an activity, and it's only when they finish the activity and get a particular score that it might reveal to them the next sort of content. So you can kind of, I don't think that's probably as important to you in pre-credit stuff, but you never know. And there we go. So you can see now we've kind of changed that to that. But there's our content, and it looks okay, not too much. And this is how it looks on the front page. So there's the description for the front page that I've kind of got. All right, so I'll just pause there, see if you've got any questions, and then I'll go on to the next easy peasy trick in Moodle. How you going there, Charmaine? And Tammy, yeah, okay, all good?
I suppose I just have a question. Does it cost a lot for Learn Local centres to use this for a few courses?
Well, it's kind of what we're saying before. This is what they call Moodle Cloud. So it's an offshoot of Moodle that makes available a subscription model.
Yeah.
And how Moodle makes its money is that it licenses support organizations around the world who can host Moodle, and then that's what pays for the continual, because it's a bit of a hippie enterprise.
Right.
So the subscription model begins, I mean, you can get some free access to begin with, but after that it goes in pricing. And the issue with all subscription models is how much room and space you get.
Yeah.
And also how many users you can use. So, if you start uploading lots of files, then it becomes, you start to use up a lot of data, and that's kind of the problem. So you get a free trial, then you've got various plans. Oh, I think I blew this up. So let me just go back to this. Sorry, the page has sort of gone funny. I don't know what's on that. So here you've got various options, but maybe if I put this into the chat, then you can chase them up.
Okay, thanks. That's all.
Yeah. So that's what we were talking about before, you know, like if you've got 200 users and you've got various classes, then you got more than 200 users, then you have to recycle them.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's okay. I mean, you can do that. Or, you know, I reckon if I was on Learn Local, I would just create a whole bunch of generic logins, you know, student 1, student 2, just use them. You don't necessarily need to identify who's done what.
Yeah.
All right, so the next activity, there's a quiz in Moodle. You can use quizzes, but they're really complicated. And Trudy, you probably found that they're complicated to set up and manage. But if you're going to use them and you're confident with it, they're wonderful because you can reuse questions and make random quizzes from question banks and all sorts of things. But an easier option is to create what's called a feedback. And it's really just a survey. You can't grade it, but it has some good analytics in it. So you can see here, it's a bit hard to tell what it looks like, but because I'm in there as a teacher, but we can create some questions, you know, that's a multiple choice question, short answer question, you know, multiple response question. And you can see here, what we've done is, this is always a good thing I like to do. If you ask a question about barriers or anything, you know, provide 3 tools you'd use in changing a light bulb. If you put other, then it gives space in the next, add another question to just get students to describe what their other is. Because there's always someone who's got a better idea or you haven't kind of done all these things. So with this activity, like before, it was just a one-step process, create a page, chuck your stuff in, save it. But here, what we have to do is create the feedback, set it all up, and then save it and add the question. So it's kind of like a 2-step thing because it's an activity. So again, I've got content here. So if you wanted to play at home, I've shared this with you, but I'll send you the script, so you've got that. Hopefully you can access that. And this is just a script for you to kind of copy and go along. So you can see we're going to call it feedback example, and we've got a description there, which is really telling students what to do. And so let's go back to Moodle and send it. And then hope it runs. Yeah, there we go. So I'm going to, again, the way we set things up is add an activity and resource. We can find the feedback here somewhere. There it is. And give it a name. Yeah, that's not good. And we'll chuck text in. So you can see we can't really do anything else. Except there's one thing here, I'll show you. In after submission, it's saying, do you want to show the analysis page to students? I'm going to say yes, because one of the really nice things about feedback is that it will provide to you and students, if you allow it, a summary of all the responses. So you can kind of use it in class, you could use it in Moodle, in Zoom or in your class or whatever, and it will show everybody. So if you ask people for experiences or say you have ask them a question about how they might respond to a particular problem, and you provide them some multiple choice options to think about that, then you can see how different people think and use that as a springboard for discussion about why you chose that option. And if you have some open-ended questions, then students can put in their own kind of responses, or even true and false or whatever you want. That's the only one I would probably worry about there. The other thing is you can make it anonymous, so which is probably best unless you really want to know what people think. Just to kind of get the trend, of what people think now, all this other stuff. You can do an activity completion as well here. So if we said all the conditions are met, and all we can really do is that there's no grade, so it's completed if they view it. if they complete it, if they type thing in, they can put it in. All right, so I'll save and display that. Now, the reason I save and display is because it will take me to the next step. If I choose save and return a course, I lose it and go back to the front page and have to go back and edit it again. So here we are, and you can see we've got, this is where you would come back in and see what the responses are from student. Now, if I edit those questions, I haven't got anything in there at the moment. So I'm going to go back to my list of, first one is, what do your students like when working together? Some of these questions are a bit dodgy. So that's going to be a multiple choice. No, let's make that a multiple choice. And you can see it's pretty straightforward. We can put the question, and we don't have to put them in their own boxes. We can just chuck them all in, and it's all good. So that's where the values are for the question. And you can see here, we could change that to be multiple answers. So I'll make it that way. And you can make it required, so they have to do it. And that's it. It's great. So we've done the first one, and that's what it looks like. It's pretty industrial, but we'll do the job. Now we're going to do a longer answer where students just respond with, what's an activity they could use to get students going. So we're going to choose a longer text answer. And all we have to do here is make it required and plonk in our question. And you can put a few fancy things about how wide you want the text box to be. Probably the smaller the better. Otherwise, they worry about if they've written enough or ignore it. So now we've got another one. And then we've got another multiple choice one. And this is around, some barriers for engagement. So I'm going to make that a multiple choice as well. And I'll chuck it all in here and go backwards. And again, this is what I'm kind of saying. If you're never going to be able to have all the values for an answer like that because it's so individual and unique. So you want to pick up on the stuff that people might have observed themselves as not in your question. So we're going to put another thing in there and make that a short answer where they can, okay, there's always someone who says other, which is good, and gives them an opportunity to put that in. I'll paste that question in. We'll make it the same width to make it consistent. Oh, maybe not. And there it is. That's it. So there's a really quick way of creating a survey, but you can use this as a quiz, multiple choice quiz, because you can see the analysis. So you can just get a sense of where students are getting it, or where they're not. Now, unfortunately with Moodle, I can't see what this looks like as a student or participate in the activity unless I change my role. So up here alongside my name, you can see it says switch role to, and it will say, okay, I'm going to be a student. Oh, it says that because you've made you a student and sort of, yeah, anyway. So let's check it out. And you can see, Shruti, you can see that one's done now. So student, I can see that for myself, but I wouldn't see that as a teacher. Let's see if I can do it. So I'm going to answer the questions. Well, I like talking. I like writing. I can wash my car with phone guide. There we go. I don't recommend you do that, but choose top barriers. Well, that's probably a big one. Oh, yes. I can submit them. And because I let them see the analysis page, I can see the answers. So this is really sweet. So students get a bit of a reinforcement about we had more than one response. You'd see different values and it would adjust. And you can see the responses to those questions. And then, once you get 10 or so answers, it starts to really show you some data. So you can kind of use that data as a bit of a way of getting students talking together about particular things, or, why did you choose other? And, what were you thinking there? Or tell us a bit more about turning up late. Well, that's an issue. You can kind of, scaffold off it, if you will. Now, you don't have to show that to students, but you might as well. Because now I'm saying I'm a student and I can just now return to my normal role and it will take me back as a person of influence, I guess. All right. So I recommend that for pre-criticals, I'd recommend that over quiz, formal quiz, because you can grade quizzes and it's great for vet, see what students are doing, but these are really fast to set up and, all right. So what time is it? Okay, so we got another one here, which is a forum. I want to get students to discuss things. So we can set up a discussion forum, and you've all participated in some of these, but these are pretty straightforward. Turn my editing back on. And then it will give me access to everything. So if I select an activity or resource, you've got a forum here. Now, forums are good, I reckon, for collecting sort of stories, and probably using that audio tool might be good to, if you're going to do that with students. I've got a couple of bullet points there, but pretty straightforward. And like you always want to make something about some instruction for not only just posting, but then the parameters for going and commenting on peers, which is always hard. You probably have to knock heads together to get that to do that. But one of the first things you should do with a forum is put your own post in. So you don't do too long. Do it at the level that you expect your students to do, because then you provide a model for the first person who gets there to say, oh, okay, I get it. So you come up with your story here of something you'd seen. I'd probably write my story about the day my colleague put all the eggs in the microwave oven at the Hilton Hotel when I was working there and turned it up to 20 minutes because of his ongoing feud with the chef. We've got lots and lots and lots and lots of features here, but again, like the activity completion, if you change that to conditions are met, then you can actually say here that if I post one discussion or reply, then they've completed the activity. You can set that for as many as you want. You can do ratings, but students can't do those, unfortunately. So they'll save and display it. And now there's the post. You can see the conditions here. And if you add any discussion, sometimes with forms you don't get too much information from people, and I'll give you 30 minutes to edit it. If you want to make some changes, you can kind of do that. All right, so there it is. You can see these are the conditional things that it's putting in there. So we'll be able to see. It doesn't tend, there's the one of the things with forums, because of the way, if you have an individual login for each student, then you can put the email address in, and you've probably been bombarded by various messages from the Moodle that Sean and I put up. But if you force subscription, then they'll get everything, which is probably what you want to get them to do that. Because, you know, often when there's a comment goes up, people will go and post. Not often, but that will be the case. All right. I'll stop there for a minute. I have got some other examples of embedding things like Padlet and Google Map into, because you've seen the video. Do you want me to proceed onto that quickly? And then I can probably spend a bit of time answering questions. Or if there's something more specific you'd like to look at, I'm happy to do that too. Okay, let's have a look at Padlet. And I'll put it. Here it is. Here's Padlet that I've got. I wouldn't recommend this as best practice by any stretch of the imagination. It's just me mucking around with it, finding out, really loving the fact that you can take photos and drop them in and videos, and you can embed Spotify songs. So this is another activity where 5 people in my class put up their favorite songs. Yeah, so you want to put this activity in Moodle, then you can see up here you've got a share button, and you know you can share QR codes with students, or we've got an embed. If we select that, this is the real doozy, this one. You don't have to really worry about what it means. I don't know what it means. We can just copy it. Let's copy it. We go back to Moodle, and we can create another. That's another activity results. I'll just put it in as another page. So we've got a page here. Again, I have to go to the web page here. Select that. I can get rid of that. I don't need that. There's that awful code. And I put in the wrong one. Typical, wouldn't it? Should be in the content. So it jumps around a little bit when we turn the editor on and off. There, it's dropped it in. You can see it's there already, and then we can save and display. Now, it's not going to be much useful making a condition on this, because all we can do is view it. It's not going to matter. But when people come here, they can actually engage with it. So they can put things up and watch the video. They can blow it up if they need to. So it's great. And Google Docs works really well on here too. You can embed those and link to them all. So that's Padlet. Why don't we shown you YouTube, but the one I really like is Google Maps. Now, I don't know if any of you teach numeracy. I've got to find where it is. Here we go. I don't know if any of you teach numeracy, but I'll come back to that point in a minute. So I'm going to find Ballarat. And there it is. I'm over here somewhere. I'm on the outskirts of town. I'm up near the wildlife park. I'm about there. Can't hear them at night. And there's all bush through here, so that's got enough. So I'm going to share this. I want to share this map of Ballarat. So we've got a link there, but we've got an embed. And when you look at share on most things, you'll find embed anywhere, most things. So even if you don't use Moodle, you might use Blogger or WordPress. You can use those. Sometimes they have a slightly separate code. We can choose what size map we want. But I'm just going to do medium, copy it, we head back to Moodle. So I've copied that code. I'll add another activity. I'll just make another page, but you could put it on the front, but probably don't want to overburden with information. Probably be leaving as soon as you arrive. Once you get out of the car, it feels how cold it is. Put that code in after the code view and boom. There's your map. And it's embedded in page. I want to zoom in or go elsewhere that can do that. And you can view a larger map that will take you out of Moodle and off to back to Google. So numeracy tip. Oh yeah, we got a hand up or not? Just one minute. I recommend this for you, Tammy. It's fantastic. Done my hands a world good. Beeswax. Google Maps has a feature where you can create your own map. So down here, so create map. Now, I won't go into this too much, but in the past when I've used this, it enables you to create a map of a particular area. And then it also allows you to put in things like lines between things, directions, measure distance and area. So I remember working with one Learn Local who used it to measure a block next to them or the block of where they were located. It's pretty accurate. You kind of draw a line and then they could do area and perimeter and all sorts of things. And then you can save it and share it as well. So it's they had a whole range of activities where they got students who were doing employability unit. They then had to calculate how far from their work to potential place of employment and then identify where they can maybe get lunch, buses, transport or parking, all that sort of stuff. It was really fantastic. They could save them and everyone could contribute to them. Okay, I probably should stop there. I got through most of what I wanted to get through, but there might be a question that you have, or you might be totally bamboozled by what I just displayed to you, but please let me know.
Mike, can I ask you, there are a few things I just was looking at. First thing is view didn't view when we changed that Mark has done to view, it didn't come on my end. And surprisingly, I haven't turned my editing on and went on to do your quiz, the quiz that you created. It actually shows me to add the questions and my turn editing on is not on at all.
Oh, that's interesting. That's very interesting. I think that's because with some of those activities, I don't think that would happen with the page, but because you're all in there as teachers, I think that's why. Because you can't actually participate in a feedback and a quiz without being a student. Or you can preview a quiz actually, but feedback's one of those oddities that you have to change your role to do the thing. So it's probably just assumed, oh, you're a teacher, that's your role, you can edit it.
It did allow me to add the feedback, like I could choose the answers, but it also allowed me to add questions. And while as I am logged in as Shruti and you are logged in as Mick, it shouldn't allow me to, I don't know if I'm explaining it correctly.
No, I understand that. I think it's just an oddity with the feedback tool. It's a bit of a weird one. And because your role is the same as mine in there, it's just not going to discriminate between who owns it. It's just going to say, oh, it's teacher. I'm not going to let you preview that because feedback's just unique in that way. So if you're in here, you can edit it. I think that's the reason. It's confusing for sure. Whereas quizzes, that wouldn't happen. It's just something to do with feedback. That's just not set up. It's just set up differently. So sometimes we might create a, test student. So if you've got, like say, Google browser and then say maybe, Edge browser, you log in one and student and teacher on the other, so you can see how it looks. But for most things, it will look the same. Just feedback's an odd one.
Okay.
I know it's confusing because it certainly confused me when I first discovered it as well. Yeah. But if you did that to anything else, you would have to turn you would have to edit the settings, I think, to access it, is my thought. It's just feedback to everyone. Thanks, though. You got any more? You always got lots of good questions.
No, that's about it for me.
All right, beauty. Well, we've kind of scratched the surface, and you've got access to the. If you want to take it further, you've got access to the sandpit to do that. And I'll also just remind you where those resources are. So I've got scripts for all those activities there. All you need to do to be able to do that is in your area, in your topic, turn editing on. And then add activity or resource, and then choose the right one for the activity. And yeah, hopefully it works out. Okay. What are you thinking, Charmaine? Charmaine and Tammy, after I think you've used Moodle before, haven't you, Charmaine?
Yes, I have.
In fact, you're a bit of a guru, weren't you? You were had someone involved with an RTO and you had a lot of experience with Moodle. Was that you? That was you? No, it was someone else. Oh, okay. Maybe that was Helen. What about you, Tammy?
I like the look of it, and it doesn't seem too complicated from what you were showing today. So yeah, it's looking like it's worth a go. I'd still like to, explore the Padlet idea just to see how it compares.
Yeah.
I know a little bit about Google Classrooms. I've done little bits of that throughout lockdown. So I feel like I know the basics of it, but maybe, yeah, I could do with some refresher stuff on that as well. When will the Google Classrooms session be, Mick?
Well, look, I can't access Google Classroom and I don't know much about it, to be honest. So I'm going to focus on Google Documents.
Oh, Google Docs,
and
right.
Google Forms.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But that's on next. I think that's next at 1:30. So what we're kind of doing, hang on, I'm still sharing, aren't I?
Yeah.
I didn't get to this. This is kind of what we're doing. We've got 3 workshops and we're repeating them 3 times.
Oh, okay. Where do I get that information? I haven't been able to see this.
I think they sent out, you should have got an email from Kylie at the Vet Development Centre.
Okay.
And I understanding, well, I saw the email on Monday.
Okay.
But she also sent out links for all sessions. So you can come to, so the idea is that say you want to come to the Moodle one again, you could come with Shauna tomorrow or do Google Docs with me or later on Thursday. So we tried to, yeah, rather than choose one thing and not get very far with everybody, choose a few different things. So,
yeah.
I mean, I think we'll do this going forward. So,
sorry, I have another little daggy question, but with the chat, like you put lots of links in the chat, I'm not able to copy that from the chat. Is there a reason for that?
I think it's just the way. Oh, yeah, that's the thing. Can you download it?
Yeah, they probably the save chat button is deactivated. So yeah, it doesn't look like we can.
Yeah, so whenever you put things in there, I've been trying all throughout the session and it won't let me.
Oh, let me try something. It must be one of those permission things. So what I might try and do is share it with you so you can download it from there. Oh, yeah. It's got to work out where I put it. Yeah, that's bad, isn't it? I don't know how to change the permission on that. I don't think I can. So can
you can just copy the chat and paste it somewhere or send it, email it or something. I don't know.
Well, I've just dropped it in the chat. Can you see that? So
yeah, it is there in the chat.
You should be able to open at your end.
Oh, okay. So, okay, and I can save it now.
Yeah, can you see that?
Okay. Yeah, I'm just.
Okay. And I'll probably follow up with an email to you, the 3 of you or 2.
Right.
about where to find those things.
Okay.
I can give you that. I'll give you the script because it's got all links in it, direct link. So I'll send you that.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming.
Well, thanks. I might
Thank-
drop into the Google Docs one. Are you doing that at 12:30?
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Well, I
yeah,
might,
very welcome.
I might see you then. Is it the same Zoom link or a different one?
It's a different one, I think.
Oh, different one.
Yeah.
Okay.
But have you got it in your calendar?
I think so.
If you
I
don't,
think
I don't know.
I,
just send
I
me an
think
email if you don't get it.
I got only one link for today's session. So
Okay.
it has got the different sessions, and I was booked in just for this session. And I don't know if there are different links.
I think. Let's have a look.
Yeah, I think I've only got one link too in my email.
Mm.
And did they just for this morning?
No, this is an original email that I got.
Okay. Because I thought they sent out. Hang on, I must turn the recording off. Thanks very much, Rory.
Okay.
No, sorry, I'm just being official. Oh, there we go.